In the heart of rural America, a chilling scheme unfolded on a family's cherished land, as detailed in the gripping YouTube video transcript. The primary idea revolves around an illegitimate land grab orchestrated by imposters posing as compliance officers from a fictitious entity called the Meadowlark Preservation and Zoning Authority. This group targeted a homeowner, aiming to coerce her into surrendering a portion of her 10-acre property through a combination of forged documents, fabricated zoning violations, and relentless intimidation. The audacity of their approach, showing up unannounced in dark navy uniforms, wielding blank badges and clipboards like weapons, underscored their intent to exploit the homeowner's perceived vulnerability, particularly during her husband's absence. Their tactics were meticulously designed to create an illusion of legitimacy, leveraging official-sounding jargon to mask their fraudulent motives. The imposters introduced themselves with an air of authority, claiming the homeowner's land violated obscure regulations, such as subsection C, Article 12, for illegal fencing or improper land division. These accusations, delivered with stone-faced conviction, were pure fiction, as the Meadowlark Authority was a fabricated organization with no legal standing. The group's strategy hinged on a forged real estate listing, which they labeled a voluntary zoning transition, a euphemism for what the homeowner rightly called a blatant land grab. They issued a 30-day ultimatum to vacate the southern acreage, threatening enforcement if she resisted, and even hinted at personal knowledge of her husband's deployment to unnerve her further. This psychological manipulation was paired with physical markers of their claim: neon orange stakes and pink flags planted in her field, tagged with phrases like pending public use, review, to suggest an inevitable takeover. The scheme's sophistication lay in its exploitation of legal gray areas, as confirmed by the local sheriff, who noted similar incidents across the county. The imposters capitalized on emergency zoning provisions, loopholes that allowed them to pressure landowners into voluntarily forfeiting property under the guise of compliance. This tactic preyed on the fear and confusion of homeowners, particularly those unfamiliar with complex land laws, making it seem as though resistance was futile. The homeowner's land, held by her family since 1921, was more than a target. It was a symbol of heritage, making the threat deeply personal. The imposters' actions were not just about acquiring property, they were about asserting control, using fear as a lever to pry away what was rightfully hers. This chilling encounter set the stage for a battle that would test the homeowner's resolve, revealing the lengths to which unscrupulous groups will go to steal land and the courage required to stand firm against such deception. The YouTube video transcript vividly illustrates a homeowner's harrowing experience as a group of imposters, masquerading as compliance officers from the fictitious Meadowlark Preservation and Zoning Authority, employed escalating threats and intimidation to force her to surrender her family's land. What began as a deceptive visit with forged documents and fabricated zoning violations quickly spiraled into a campaign of psychological and physical aggression designed to break the homeowner's spirit. The imposters' tactics evolved from verbal coercion to chilling acts of vandalism and, ultimately, a devastating act of arson, revealing their ruthless determination to seize the 10-acre property that had been in the homeowner's family since 1921. This escalation was not merely about claiming land. It was a calculated effort to instill paralyzing fear and erase the homeowner's sense of security. Initially, the imposters relied on psychological intimidation, appearing on the homeowner's porch in dark navy uniforms with blank badges, wielding clipboards and citing fictitious violations like illegal fencing or obstruction of proposed public access. Their 30-day ultimatum to vacate the southern acreage, delivered with a smirk and a veiled reference to her husband's absence, was meant to exploit her perceived vulnerability. However, when the homeowner resisted, the group's tactics grew sinister. They planted neon stakes and flags across her field, signaling their intent to claim the land. But their aggression soon took a darker turn. One morning, the homeowner discovered a skinned rabbit nailed to a fence post with rusted wire, its blood still fresh, accompanied by a note wrapped around a stake that read, "Leave or more will die." This gruesome act was a clear message. Compliance was non-negotiable, and defiance would come at a cost. The campaign of terror culminated in a catastrophic act of arson that destroyed the homeowner's barn, a structure that housed animals and embodied generations of family labor. The fire, ignited without warning, sent flames leaping 12 feet high, consuming the barn's wooden beams and the homeowner's sense of safety. The animals inside perished, and the homeowner, driven by instinct, nearly ran into the inferno to save them, only to be stopped by her husband's desperate tackle. The volunteer fire department later confirmed the fire's suspicious origin and accelerant pattern, noting similar incidents at other properties that refused to sell. This act of destruction was the imposter's ultimate weapon, designed to shatter the homeowner's resolve by targeting not just her property, but her identity and heritage. The discovery of a pristine orange stake amid the barn's ashes, labeled as a second notice, underscored their audacity, mocking her loss. These escalating acts of intimidation, verbal threats, vandalism, and arson revealed a chilling strategy to break the homeowner's will, making her fight not just for her land, but for her right to exist without fear. In the gripping narrative of the YouTube video transcript, the homeowner's battle against imposters posing as compliance officers from the fictitious Meadowlark Preservation and Zoning Authority transforms dramatically with the return of her husband, Jack, a former Navy SEAL. Initially alone and reeling from the imposter's escalating threats, forged documents, a skinned rabbit nailed to a fence post, and the arson that destroyed her family's barn, the homeowner faced a seemingly insurmountable challenge to protect her 10-acre property, a family legacy since 1921. Jack's arrival marked a pivotal shift as his military training and tactical expertise turned vulnerability into a resolute defense, galvanizing a campaign of resilient resistance that redefined the fight against the land grab scheme. His presence, coupled with strategic planning and unyielding determination, not only countered the imposter's intimidation, but also empowered the homeowner to reclaim control over her land and her sense of security. When Jack stepped through the door, his boots caked with mud and his eyes scanning the room like a soldier entering a hot zone, the atmosphere changed. His first question, "Where's your rifle?" set the tone for a methodical response rooted in his Navy SEAL training. Jack's calm exterior belied a calculating intensity, a battle mode that the homeowner both recognized and dreaded, as it reminded her of the part of him that never fully returned from his deployments. He wasted no time assessing the situation, reviewing the imposter's fake documents, dismissed as intimidation wrapped in font size 12, and analyzing surveillance footage provided by their eccentric neighbor, Dan. The footage, captured by Dan's GoPro at 2:38 a.m., revealed the imposter's tactical probing, such as tampering with irrigation valves and planting stakes, confirming their intent to test the homeowner's response time. Jack's interpretation was chilling. "They're seeing if you'll panic or fight," and panic meant losing everything. Jack's leadership transformed the property into a fortified stronghold. He reinforced the east gate, identified as a blind spot, and orchestrated a sophisticated defense system, including motion sensors buried in shallow trenches and cameras hidden in everyday objects like birdhouses. His strategic mindset shone in the creation of a trap, a fake for sale sign placed conspicuously at the south entrance, wired to a pressure sensor and monitored by a solar-powered motion camera. This bait, designed to lure the imposters into revealing their intentions, was a testament to Jack's ability to think like the enemy, anticipating their moves and exploiting their overconfidence. The homeowner, though initially overwhelmed, found herself drawn into this tactical world, hammering nails and digging trenches with a resolve that surprised even her. Jack's presence gave her not just protection, but purpose, as she declared, "This isn't about safe, this is about mine." The culmination of Jack's strategy came when the imposters, led by a woman named Paige from the Shady Elm Tree Revitalization Partners, returned. Jack's emergence from the woods, unarmed but radiating authority, froze the group in their tracks. His confrontation, backed by the homeowner's bold accusation of trespassing and Dan's real-time drone surveillance, forced a confession from one of the imposters, who admitted to arson and intimidation before walking away in guilt. Jack's tactical acumen and unwavering presence turned the tables, exposing the imposters' vulnerabilities and driving them to retreat. His leadership not only protected the land, but also restored the homeowner's agency, proving that resilience, rooted in skill and determination, could defy even the most sinister threats. Yet as Jack later stood by the rebuilt barn, his question, "Do you ever miss how it used to be?" hinted at the cost of their victory, a reminder that their resistance, though triumphant, left them forever changed. The YouTube video transcript paints a vivid picture of a homeowner's desperate struggle to protect her family's 10-acre legacy from imposters posing as compliance officers of the fictitious Meadowlark Preservation and Zoning Authority. Central to this fight is the fourth main idea, the critical role of community and tactical support, embodied by the homeowner's eccentric neighbor Dan and her Navy SEAL husband Jack. Together, they formed a resilient trio that transformed a vulnerable situation into a strategic counteroffensive, leveraging surveillance, cunning traps, and collective resolve to expose the imposter's illegal land grab. Dan's quirky yet invaluable contributions, combined with Jack's military precision, not only thwarted the immediate threat, but also uncovered a broader pattern of similar scams in nearby communities, highlighting the power of unity in the face of orchestrated intimidation. Dan, a conspiracy enthusiast with a GoPro strapped to his head and Crocs on his feet, emerged as an unlikely hero. His obsessive vigilance, capturing footage of the imposter's 2:38 a.m. trespass with thermal imaging, provided the first concrete evidence of their tactics, such as planting stakes and probing irrigation lines. Dan's grainy videos revealed their movements as tactical probing, a term Jack later confirmed as a test of the homeowner's response time. Beyond surveillance, Dan's research into public databases uncovered a disturbing pattern. Properties in Clearwater, Lakemont, and Hollow Creek had been similarly targeted, their owners pressured into forfeiting land to a shell company, Elm Tree Revitalization Partners, operating out of a P.O. box in another state. His findings, dismissed by some as paranoid ramblings, proved prescient, giving the trio a broader context for their fight and a sense that they were not alone in this battle. The trio's tactical ingenuity peaked with a meticulously planned sting operation. Jack, drawing on his Navy SEAL training, proposed a fake for sale sign at the south entrance, deliberately crooked and wired to a pressure sensor hidden 3 feet away, with a solar-powered camera disguised in an old water pump. Dan crafted the listing through a burner profile, complete with a typo-laden caption, "Prime development acreage, seller highly motivated," to bait the imposters into believing the homeowner had capitulated. The homeowner herself selected the photo, ensuring the trap felt authentic. When the imposters, led by Paige from Elm Tree, took the bait, Dan's drone and GoPro setup captured every moment in real time, from their confident perimeter walk to their stunned reaction when Jack confronted them. The footage, clear as a sermon, recorded a confession from one of the imposters who admitted to arson and intimidation before abandoning the group, overwhelmed by guilt. This community-driven resistance, bolstered by tactical support, turned the tide. The homeowner, initially paralyzed by the imposter's threats, forged documents, a burned barn, a skinned rabbit, found strength in Dan's loyalty and Jack's leadership. Their collaboration exposed the imposter's vulnerabilities, forcing a hasty retreat when confronted with undeniable evidence. Yet the victory was bittersweet. The discovery of a blank key and a photo of the trio, left as a chilling message, suggested the threat lingered. Dan's declaration, "I think we won," was tempered by the homeowner's realization that winning meant constant vigilance. The community's role, exemplified by Dan's relentless documentation and the sheriff's eventual acknowledgement, underscored a universal truth. No one fights alone. By standing together, the trio not only saved their land, but also sent a message to would-be predators. Their unity was their greatest weapon, forged in the crucible of shared purpose and unyielding defiance. The YouTube video transcript chronicles a homeowner's grueling battle to protect her family's 10-acre property from imposters posing as compliance officers of the fictitious Meadowlark Preservation and Zoning Authority, revealing a profound psychological toll and a state of lasting vigilance that reshapes her life. The fifth main idea centers on the emotional scars left by the imposter's escalating campaign, forged documents, a skinned rabbit nailed to a fence post, and the arson that razed her barn, coupled with the persistent fear of their return, marked by cryptic signs like a blank key and a new orange stake. This ordeal transforms the homeowner's worldview, replacing trust in permanence with a hyper-alert existence where every quiet moment feels like a prelude to the next threat. Her resilience, forged in the fight alongside her Navy SEAL husband Jack and neighbor Dan, comes at the cost of a peace she can no longer fully reclaim, as she keeps her boots by the door, ready for a battle that may never end. The homeowner's emotional journey is one of profound upheaval. Initially, the imposter's intimidation, blank badges, a 30-day vacate notice, and personal jabs about her husband's absence, left her shaken, her heart sprinting in place as she sat paralyzed on the kitchen floor. The destruction of the barn, a repository of her grandfather's labor and her family's history, was a visceral blow, reducing her identity to ash. She nearly ran into the flames to save her animals, stopped only by Jack's desperate tackle, a moment that crystallized her raw grief and his fear of losing her. The aftermath saw her grappling with exhaustion and despair, lying in bed the day after the fire, unable to move, as if awake but not alive. Memories of her father's defeat in a similar land loss when she was 14 resurfaced, deepening her sense of inherited trauma and a fear of becoming tired like him, worn down by the relentless fight to be heard. Yet this trauma fueled a shift from victimhood to defiance. The homeowner's resolve hardened as she joined Jack and Dan in setting traps, digging trenches for motion sensors, and confronting the imposters, culminating in a recorded confession that forced their retreat. But victory brought no closure. The discovery of a blank key, a photo of the trio smiling at the gate, and a message, "Next time we don't knock," left her sleepless, haunted by the implication that she was now part of something larger, whether she wanted to be or not. A fresh orange stake in the south pasture, pristine and unlabeled, was a silent taunt. "We still know where you live." These remnants kept her on edge, walking the perimeter daily, not out of fear, but because part of me missed it. The adrenaline becoming as familiar as bad weather. This lasting vigilance redefined her existence. Even as she rebuilt, planting sunflowers, buying new goats, she could not unpack her bags fully. Jack's question, "Do you ever miss how it used to be?" underscored the loss of a time when stillness felt safe, not like a trap. The sheriff's remark, calling her the line no one wants to cross, was a badge of strength, but also a reminder of her isolation in a world where threats linger. Keeping her boots by the door, caked in dirt, symbolized her readiness, a testament to a psyche forever altered by the fight. The land, she realized, it keeps score, and so does she, watching the horizon not for fear, but to see the next challenge first, living in the version of survival she carved out against those who sought to erase her. The YouTube video transcript narrates a homeowner's fierce struggle to protect her family's 10-acre property from imposters posing as compliance officers of the fictitious Medark Preservation and Zoning Authority, encapsulating the sixth main idea, the profound significance of her land as a legacy and the defiant resolve to preserve it against a calculated land grab. The property, owned since 1921, is more than mere acres. It embodies her family's history, her grandfather's labor, her father's sacrifices, and her own identity. Facing forged documents, a skinned rabbit nailed to a fence post, and the arson that destroyed her barn, the homeowner, alongside her Navy SEAL husband Jack and neighbor Dan, transforms fear into a resolute stand, refusing to let her heritage be erased. Her defiance, rebuilding with steel rebar, planting sunflowers, and keeping her boots ready, reflects a commitment to honor her family's story, ensuring it endures against those who seek to rewrite it. The land's legacy is woven into every moment of the homeowner's fight. It is the ground her grandfather tilled, the barn her father built, and the fields where she and Jack poured their sweat. When the imposters arrived, their blank badges and fake zoning violations targeting the southern acreage were an assault not just on property, but on her family's narrative. The barn's destruction, with flames consuming animals and memories, was a personal violation, reducing her heritage to ash and leaving an orange stake in the ruins as a mocking second notice. This loss echoed a childhood trauma, her father's defeat when their first farm was taken at age 14, fueling her determination to avoid his fate. The land, she realizes, remembers what you bury, what you build, what you fight for, and her fight is for the right to keep that memory intact. Her defiance manifests in both resistance and renewal. With Jack's tactical leadership and Dan's surveillance, she counters the imposter's intimidation, forged listings, late-night trespassing, and cryptic threats like a blank key by setting traps, such as a fake for sale sign that lures the imposters into a recorded confession. This victory, forcing their retreat, is not the end but a recommitment to her legacy. Rebuilding becomes an act of defiance. Jack reinforces the barn's skeleton with steel rebar, not to restore, but to ensure it never falls again, while the homeowner plants sunflowers by the mailbox, a quiet rebellion against the chaos. These acts are not about erasing the past but fortifying it, staking her claim to a history that the imposters sought to obliterate. Yet this defiance carries a weight. The homeowner's vigilance, daily perimeter walks, boots by the door, reflects a shift from trusting permanence to expecting threats, a mindset cemented by a new orange stake in the south pasture, a silent reminder of the imposter's reach. Her response, standing in the wind and dirt, treating it as a question rather than a defeat, underscores her resolve. The sheriff's words, calling her the line no one wants to cross, affirm her strength. But Jack's question, "Do you ever miss how it used to be?" reveals the cost, a life where peace feels unearned. The land, she muses, keeps score, and so does she, preserving her family's story not just for herself, but for those who came before and those who might follow. Her legacy is not just the acres she holds, but the defiance that ensures they remain hers, a testament to a fight that defines her against those who would erase her name from the map.